In times of war, destruction is inevitable. But what happens when that destruction reaches lost landmarks? Places that keep the memories and histories of a people, a nation, or even the world. During World War II, limitless lost sites fell sufferer to the ravages of war, misplaced invariably to history. Join us as we discover the heartbreaking destruction of lost landmarks in the course of World War II and the influence it had on our world. First, let's take a look at the destruction of Pompeii. One of the earliest and most devastating losses used to be the historic Roman city of Pompeii. The city, buried in ash and preserved for centuries, was used by all, however destroyed by using Allied bombing in 1943. The loss of Pompeii was once a tragic reminder of the fragility of our cultural heritage. Pompeii, as soon as a thriving metropolis of over 11,000 inhabitants, used to be buried underneath layers of ash and pumice when Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD. Rediscovered in the 18th century, Pompeii rapidly grew to be a traveler attraction, drawing traffic from around the world to surprise at its historical buildings, artwork, and artifacts. However, all through World War II, the metropolis grew to become a Navy target. Allied bombers, searching to disrupt German troop movements, dropped bombs on the city, inflicting giant damage. The destruction of Pompeii used to be a tremendous loss to our cultural heritage. Many of the city's buildings, frescoes, and mosaics had been destroyed or broken past repair. While some of the broken buildings have been restored, the loss of the authentic historic town is a tragedy that can by no means be thoroughly rectified. Next, let's take a look at the bombing of London. London, one of the most iconic cities in the world, was once a goal of relentless bombing for the duration of the war. Some of its most well-known landmarks, consisting of Big Ben and St. Paul's Cathedral, have been damaged, however luckily survived. But many others, like the Crystal Palace and the Middle Temple Hall, had been destroyed forever. The Blitz, a collection of bombing raids using the German Luftwaffe, focused on London and different British cities for 8 months in the course of the war. The bombing of London started on September 7, 1940, and persisted till May 11, 1941. During this time, over 43,000 civilians had been killed, and endless structures had been broken or destroyed. The loss of London's cultural landmarks used to be an extensive blow to the city's records and identity. Many of these landmarks, like the Crystal Palace and Middle Temple Hall, had been irreplaceable and had stood for centuries. However, the survival of other landmarks, like St. Paul's Cathedral and Big Ben, gave Londoners hope and helped them keep their experience of pleasure and resilience all through the darkest days of the war. Now, let's take a look at the devastation of Dresden. The German town of Dresden, regarded for its splendor and culture, was once devastated by using Allied bombing on February 1945. The city's ancient center, which includes the spectacular Frauenkirche, was once decreased to rubble. The destruction of Dresden stays one of the most controversial activities of the war. Dresden, recognized as the Florence of the Elbe for its lovely Baroque architecture, was once focused on using Allied bombers on February 13, 1945. The bombing campaign, which lasted for 3 days, destroyed plenty of the town and prompted the deaths of an estimated 25,000 people. The Frauenkirche, a Baroque church that had stood for over 200 years, was once decreased to a pile of rubble. The destruction of Dresden triggered good-sized outrage, each in Germany and around the world. Many people were puzzled by the necessity of the bombing campaign, which got here at a time when Germany used to be already on the brink of defeat. Others defended the bombing, arguing that it was once a professional Navy target. Today, the rebuilt Frauenkirche stands as an image of the city's resilience and the efforts to repair what used to be misplaced in the bombing. Next, let's take a look at the tragedy of Warsaw. The Polish town of Warsaw, recognized for its wealthy records and culture, used to be nearly destroyed at some point in the war. The city's ancient old town, with its lovely Gothic and Renaissance buildings, used to be decreased to rubble. The loss of Warsaw was once a tragedy for Poland and the world. Warsaw, one of the most necessary cultural facilities in Poland, used to be focused on with the aid of German bombers in September 1939. The bombing destroyed lots of the city's infrastructure, along with the Royal Citadel and the well-known Pilsudski Square. The Nazis then razed the city's historical Jewish ghetto and massacred its inhabitants. In 1944, the Polish resistance launched a rebellion against the German occupation. However, the Germans spoke back with a brutal crackdown that left plenty of the metropolis in ruins. The destruction of Warsaw used to be a devastating loss for Poland and a tragic instance of the horrors of war. Despite the damage, the city's residents have decided to rebuild their town and repair its lost landmarks. Today, the rebuilt Old Town, which includes the Royal Citadel and the Market Square, stands as an image of the city's resilience and the efforts to hold its cultural heritage. Now, let's take a look at the loss of Monte Cassino. Monte Cassino, an ancient abbey in Italy, used to be the website of one of the bloodiest battles of World War II. Allied bombing and artillery furnaces destroyed lots of the abbey, consisting of its historic library and precious works of art. The loss of Monte Cassino used to be a tragic blow to the cultural heritage of Italy. The Battle of Monte Cassino, which took vicinity from January to May 1944, was once a key combat in the Allied marketing campaign to liberate Italy from German occupation. The abbey, perched on a hill overlooking the surrounding countryside, used to be a strategic factor of manipulation for each side. Despite protests from the Vatican, Allied forces bombed the abbey in February 1944, believing that it was once being used with the aid of the Germans as a remark post. The bombing brought about massive injury to the abbey, along with the destruction of its historic library and many of its beneficial works of art. The loss of Monte Cassino was once a vast blow to the cultural heritage of Italy and the world. While efforts have been made to restore the abbey and its artworks, an awful lot of the unique shapes and artifacts have been misplaced forever. The tragedy of Monte Cassino serves as a reminder of the excessive fee of battle, and they want to guard and hold our cultural heritage, even in instances of conflict. Next, let's take a look at the destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 had been among the most devastating acts of struggle in human history. The bombings now not solely killed tens of lots of people but additionally destroyed lots of the cultural heritage of these historical Japanese cities. Hiroshima and Nagasaki had been necessary cultural facilities in Japan, recognized for their usual architecture, art, and literature. The bombings on August 6 and 9, 1945, respectively, leveled a whole lot of the cities, along with their ancient landmarks and cultural treasures. The bombing of Hiroshima destroyed the well-known Shukien Garden and many different cultural sites, while the bombing of Nagasaki destroyed the Suwa Shrine and different historical temples and buildings. The destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki used to be a tragic loss for Japan and the world. In the aftermath of the bombings, efforts had been made to rebuild the cities and repair their cultural heritage. Today, Hiroshima and Nagasaki serve as effective symbols of the devastation of hostilities and the want for peace and reconciliation. The destruction of lost landmarks in the course of World War II used to be a tragedy for humanity. The loss of these irreplaceable treasures serves as a reminder of the devastating penalties of hostilities, and they want to defend and maintain our cultural heritage. Despite the destruction of many cultural landmarks through the war, efforts have been made to hold and repair what remains. UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, was once set up in 1945 to guard and promote cultural heritage around the world. Today, UNESCO has distinguished over 1,100 sites as World Heritage Sites, inclusive of many that had been broken or destroyed at some point during World War II. Preserving our cultural heritage is now not solely vital for the sake of records and art, however, it additionally serves as a reminder of our shared humanity and the want to prize and admire numerous cultures and traditions. By remembering and maintaining our lost landmarks, we can honor the past, construct bridges between cultures, and create a higher future for generations to come. The destruction of cultural landmarks at some point in World War II was once a tragedy for humanity. The loss of these irreplaceable treasures serves as a reminder of the devastating penalties of battle, and they want to shield and hold our cultural heritage. But even in the face of destruction and loss, the human spirit perseveres, and efforts to rebuild and repair these landmarks stand as a testimony to our resilience and dedication to shield what is most treasured to us. By remembering the past, we can work closer to a higher future. The place cultural heritage is valued, respected, and covered from the ravages of struggle and conflict. Let us proceed to honor and hold the legacy of those who got here earlier than us and make certain that their cultural heritage stays a dwelling section of our world today. If you found this video informative, please consider subscribing to our channel for more educational content like this. By subscribing, you'll be supporting our efforts to spread knowledge and awareness about important historical events like this. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you in our next video.